Welcome back. All right, so we're up to Boston, which means that tomorrow would be Colorado. So, yeah, Boston, the season ended early for them again. This is why I got the Stanley Cup final patch in 2019 when they reached the final, because, again, I understand how it might be your last time, might be your last chance. So, for the idea that maybe it was the Bruins' last chance, was like going to grab a patch, throw that on the jersey. And this year, they didn't give me a chance to get another patch. 33, 16, and 7 was their overall record. And great after the deadline, and Taylor Hall looked fantastic after the deadline. And then you hit the playoffs. Round one against Washington, they went it in 5. Looked like they were going to cruise. And then they lost to the Islanders in 6 in the next round, as the Islanders went into playoff mode. And Boston just wasn't able to overcome the New York Islanders. I don't want to say that it was necessarily effort that made the difference, but man, the work ethic of the Islanders is truly intimidating. So the Boston Bruins, they have some work to do now in the offseason. A lot of work to do now in the offseason. Because yeah, they're going to lose somebody to Seattle, but what's more important right now than that, I really think it might be time to, I mean, rebuild is a little bit over the top, but get younger. Just they need to get younger. And then there's a lack of those real blue chip prospects. I've said this for a couple years. The idea that eventually you're going to have to replace Bergeron, you're going to have to replace Marchand at some stage, and there isn't anybody in the organization that looks like they're going to be able to be the next Patrice Bergeron, which is fine because Bergeron's put together a Hall of Fame career, but trying to find who that next guy is, with Boston, a team that keeps giving up prospects, draft picks, prospects, this might be the time to stop giving up draft picks and prospects. This might be the time to just say, right, we're not going to do that again. And it's a team that's getting older. Again, we're having the same conversation about their depth. Is their depth good enough? So that's a problem when you're having these many conversations about the depth of the team. That's an issue. So, and I think that showed up against the Islanders. I think depth was a huge part of what got the Islanders over the top against them. Power play, penalty kill, the numbers were pretty good. Power play in the regular season, 21.88%. In the playoffs, 36.4%. That's ridiculous. Penalty kill in the regular season, 85.96%. In the playoffs, it drops 75.7%. But again, those numbers added together, not too shabby. So the special teams were pretty good for Boston. 5-on-5 is a problem. 5-on-5 was a problem at certain points during the regular season, and in the playoffs, when they needed that goal 5-on-5, it just wasn't there. And so, again, they need to be more than a one-line team. And they're now in a situation where they may have to replace their second-line center. They may bring him back. I'm on the fence. Again, I'd like to see the team get younger. I'd like to see sweeping changes made to the depth on this team while maintaining that core that I guess might go for another. Like, already we're hearing, like, so does Boston go all in for 2022? And when I read that, honestly, my brain starts screaming, stop it, stop it, stop it. Because I really don't think they're that close. But again, that's me, right? I'm a Bruins fan. Maybe I'm being overly negative on the team. But I don't think they're that close. I don't think this is a keep guys together and then add another rental. I don't think that's the way to go here. I just don't. I want to say, too, it's interesting to me that Taylor Hall goes to Boston, right? Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac went to the Islanders. And that was a decision Lou Lamoriello made. He could have made the deal for one or for the others. And he wanted Palmieri. And at the time, a lot of people said, oh, that's just crazy. Hall's the better player. Oh, look, Palmieri's not fitting in very well with the Islanders. Palmieri was part of the reason the Bruins got knocked out in this series. So there's some decision-making issues that go on with this team. Agreed? Does Don Sweeney need to go? No. When I see people saying Don Sweeney needs to be fired, you can't have the regular seasons they're having and fire the GM. It's not going to happen unless the Bruins flame out badly in the first round. It's not going to happen. So they're pending unrestricted free agents. It's a long list. David Krejci, honestly, I'd probably let him go. And that's me looking to get younger. I think saving some money is a good thing to do at this stage. Taylor Hall, I wouldn't give him the amount of money he was making this year, $8 million. That'd be a no for me. you can't get too enamored with what he did in his time in Boston. And at the same time, I understand why Bruins fans would be keen on keeping him around, but the Islanders just kind of shut him down. Tuukka Rask, a lot of questions about Tuukka. Of course, he's having surgery. He's going to be out until January at the earliest. So I honestly would be very surprised if he comes back to Boston. And I'd be very surprised as well if they don't find another option in the short term. And we'll come to that. Sean Corrali is 50-50 on whether or not he comes back. Kevin Miller's useful when he's healthy. He's almost never healthy. So for Kevin Miller, I'd probably move on and try to add somebody else. Mike Riley. Riley was good. I'd be fine with Riley coming back. Hopefully his goal scoring shows up. Because honestly, he's got a good shot. They're not hitting the net. Steven Kampfer, probably gone. Jared Tenorti. I wouldn't mind keeping Tenorti around as a depth defenseman. I thought he was actually a pretty good addition for the Bruins. I thought he'd play better in Boston than he had his last couple of stops along the way. And Jaro Halak, who is done. I can't see any scenario where Boston brings him back, even if they go, well, Rask's going to be out till January. Well, we'll keep Halak. I can't see that. Just can't see it. Pending restricted free agents, Andre Kasha, who can't stay healthy. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial in that. Nick Ritchie, who had a good regular season, postseason. So again, with Ritchie, I don't know how much is he worth. So it's a bridge contract, probably for about the same amount of money he was already making. Trent Frederick, I like Frederick. There doesn't seem to be any offense there though, so that's an issue because they're going to need more offense. And Brandon Carlo, who is a fantastic defenseman. Let's hope he's able to stay healthy next year because he's one of the core guys going forward. Players 22 and under that played for the Bruins this year: Trent Frederick, Oscar Steen, and Jeremy Swayman. That's the wild card for Boston going into next year. Players 32 and over that played for the team this year: Brad Marchand, who gets better as he gets older; Patrice Bergeron, who also gets better as he gets older; David Krejci, Steven Kampfer, Kevin Miller, Tuukka Rask, Yaroslav Halak. All of them UFAs this summer. So again, there's going to be some money there if Boston doesn't just try to keep everything together for them to either say, all right, we're going to have this cap space and we're okay with that, or go out and sign a couple of guys. The money's there. Top scorers during the regular season was Marchand. 53 games, 29 goals, 40 assists, 69 points. And there were rumblings about how he was the MVP for the Bruins and all that. It's been, 3 years since I did a video on, so Marchand could be a Hart contender, and people lost their minds. But honestly, every year Marchand gets better. And while we all know Bergeron is the leader and he's the captain, Marchand's the guy who's irreplaceable in the lineup over the short term. Long term, Bergeron, you can't replace him either. In the playoffs, Pastrnak, 11 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. And yet, I saw a couple of comments after the Islanders knocked out Boston with people saying, I wish Pasta had played better. Okay, top goaltender during the regular season and the playoffs is Tuukka Rask for both. The Rask era is probably done, so there'll be a new goaltender for every fan to blame on the Bruins' shortcomings. 15-5-2 with a .913 save percentage, 2.28 goals against during the regular season. During the playoffs, he was 6-4 with a .919 save percentage, 2.36 goals against. I would be kind of surprised if they bring him back. Jeremy Swayman, I have to mention Swayman here. 7-3, .945 save percentage, 1.5 goals against average. And then when I mentioned in the playoffs, why don't you give Swayman a shot? People are like, is he crazy? Shannon's lost his mind talking about playing Swayman. Yeah, that .945 save percentage in the regular season tells me he might be all right. He might be okay. Might be worth a shot. So, maybe. But, all right. We don't want to go crazy here, right? So, yeah. Swayman, I think, is the starter next year. I'd be very surprised if he's not the starter next year. And it's interesting because, of course, that would mean that Demko in Vancouver, Swayman in Boston, and Ottinger in Dallas, the teams I cheer for would all have young goaltenders. That would be very interesting. In that I think Ottinger is probably going to be the starter for Dallas next year as well. Last 5 seasons, of course, this year 33-16-7, losing in round 2 against the Islanders in 6. The previous year, 44-14-12, President's Trophy, yay, lost in round 2. to Tampa in 5. And it's a bad matchup between Boston and Tampa. That's part of the reason I'm not, like, people are like, oh, he's got to be upset that the Islanders knocked out Boston. Not really, because I think the Islanders have a better chance against Tampa than Boston would. Boston last year didn't really give them much of a challenge. The Islanders did. So, yeah. 2018-2019, of course, 49-24-9 was the record. They go to the finals. They lost against St. Louis in 7. Very hotly contested, highly controversial series overall, but it was a lot of fun to watch. 2017-2018, they were 50-20-12. They lost in round 2 against Tampa in 5 again. 2017-2018, they were 44-31-7. They lost in round 1 against Ottawa in 6. And I remember that series well. That was when the channel was first starting to really build up, and I was getting to a point where I might be able to do this full time. And yeah, I remember that series, and the Boston's entire defense seemed to be injured towards the end of that series. And I wished Ottawa the best. I did. I was not upset with Ottawa. I wasn't really upset with Boston either. But again, this is a team now that I think needs to look at getting younger. Get younger, get faster, find that depth, and save some money. There's going to be a video if they find a way to keep all these guys, or a lot of them, and they spend to the cap. I'm probably not going to have a very happy video about that decision, because in this time where you've got that flat cap, if you can get flexibility, you can really, really improve your team quickly. The best contracts on the team, how can you go against Brad Marchand, who definitely took a discount to stay in Boston? $6.125 million a year for him as the cap hit. 2025 is when that contract runs out, so he's got another 4 years. Charlie McAvoy makes $4.9 million until next year. So that's not too shabby for a defenseman that I will agree sometimes gets underrated. I will also state sometimes overrated as well. But yeah, so for Boston, it's an interesting time. I'm leaning towards getting younger, faster, and if that means that the regular season record suffers, I'm okay with that, because their regular season record has been fantastic for years. But they're not getting closer to the cup. They seem to be getting further away since 2019. And because age is the thing, and guys are getting older, and Craig Smith's going to be on the 32 and over board next year, right? He was 31 to start the year this year. So, yeah, it starts to build. And that Charlie Coyle contract isn't going to age very well either. But, hey, remember when they picked up Coyle, and that was to fix their problem with depth scoring? Yep. Picked up Nick Ritchie to fix that problem with depth scoring. Andre Kasha to fix that problem with depth scoring. Taylor Hall was a rental at the deadline to fix the problem with depth scoring. Remember Rick Nash? They picked up Rick Nash years ago. That was to fix their problem with scoring depth. That's what that was for. So maybe fix it. Maybe instead of using the duct tape to continually just try to wrap it while there's water flying. And you're like, I can keep this hose will hold. It's gonna be fine. The tape will be fine. The hose will be fine. Just maybe get a new hose. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.